Hey gents, today I'm really excited to look at the Hudson and Maine line of products from Jose Zuniga, massive menswear YouTuber teaching men's fashion, except because I'm a user of this product, not an expert in this type of stuff, I called in some backup. So I bought the products myself, sent them to Matt over at TDM Style. I said, live with them, use them, let me know your complete and honest thoughts because you guys asked for this several times and I'm really excited to get his opinion. So for each of the products at $20, seems like there is a little bit of work to be done and there are much better products at that price point that you can get into. But let's leave that to Matt. He's gonna get into the formulation, into the use, and into the activated charcoal aspect of the products. I'm really happy with this video and I really hope you go check him out on his channel. And so without further ado, let's jump over to Matt.
What's up everybody, my name is Matt and I run the YouTube channel called TDM Style where I do lots of hair product reviews like this one, hairstyling tutorials, and even some cosplay stuff as well. So before we get started here, I just want to extend a massive thank you to John the Kavalier himself for inviting me to do this review here on his channel today. So we got a lot of information to get through, let's get started right away. Today we're talking about the new Hudson and Maine product lineup from the folks over at Teaching Men's Fashion. The tagline, if you will, for this brand is that it's the most masculine grooming line on the market, guaranteed confidence when applied. Which, I mean, I get the whole idea, like, the guaranteed confidence thing, like, that's, okay, it's a cute tagline, whatever, but calling it the most masculine grooming line, like, that's, I don't know, that's just kind of weird. Like, what does that really mean? But anyway, so without further ado, let's talk about the products themselves, and we're going to start with packaging. So for this, we can take a look at the whole lineup here. All of their products come in these matte black cardboard boxes with white text on the outside, and then of course you have your product inside, and they're all in these kind of shiny black plastic containers with matte black stick-on labels, and again, the white text. So the packaging is fine. I mean, I like it. It's simple, it's minimalist, which I'm always a fan of. I like the black and white. I like the text, like the font that they've chosen. The stick-on labels on the hair styling products are, I mean, they're stick-on labels. They're just kind of, the plastic doesn't feel real high-end or anything, but it's fine. All right, next up we have scent, and this is another one that we can talk about the whole line at once because as far as I can tell, every one of their products has the same scent on it. So I found it easiest to actually smell it in the shampoo and conditioner. The hair products, it's very, very light. So, I mean, the scent itself, if I'm honest, is nothing special as far as I'm concerned. It just kind of smells like any old whatever, Old Spice or something. It's just a standard masculine cologne scent. It's not bad, it's not good, it is what it is. All right, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're gonna break down each product and talk about, first of all, what the company says they're supposed to do. Then I've got demo footage for all of them so we can see exactly how they worked in my hair. And then we'll just talk about, whether or not they live up to what they're supposed to be doing for you. All right, now let's start with the shampoo and conditioner first. Now, both of these have activated charcoal in their formulas, and that seems to be kind of like the main point of focus that the company's going for on these, that they are activated charcoal products, and they are saying that it's supposed to kind of latch on to dirt and product buildup and other impurities, if you will, and basically just suck those out of your hair, in this case, to just kind of make it clean more efficiently. Paraben and sulfate-free, which is always nice to see. I always look for sulfate-free shampoos. If you're not aware of that, that just means that they're going to be more gentle on your hair. The cheaper shampoos that contain sulfates, those are just a harsher cleansing element, and so they will lather more, and they'll just kind of make your hair feel overly clean, like squeaky clean to the point that it's dry. So happy to say that this is sulfate-free. So I've got some demo footage here. We're gonna be starting out with hair that's full of product, and then I'm gonna be wetting it down. We're going in with the shampoo first, of course. And what I will say right off the bat is that the shampoo itself does have kind of a creamy feel to it. It feels almost like a light conditioner. And working that into wet hair, it will give you a nice amount of lather. And I will say, thankfully, that it does keep the hair feeling fairly moisturized, so it doesn't feel overly like squeaky clean. And then next going in with this conditioner, which is just, it's so weird to me that it's like jet black. But anyway, the conditioner feels a little bit on the lighter side. It doesn't feel real thick. And as I do with almost every conditioner that I use, I always leave it in for a couple of minutes before rinsing it out, just to make sure it has enough time to really penetrate the hair. And then here we are afterwards with the clean blow-dried result. So I've got no other products in or anything, so you can see my hair is nice and clean. It does feel light. It feels moisturized. Now, is it the cleanest and most moisturized that my hair has ever felt? No, honestly. I have other shampoos and conditioners that I'm using now that just frankly do a better job at cleansing as well as moisturizing, but these are decent. It did do a good job of removing the product buildup, and it didn't make my hair feel overly dry, and it does feel decently soft at the end result. All right, but now we need to discuss this whole activated charcoal thing for a minute. Now, this has been such a buzz product this year. I mean, I've been seeing it everywhere. Peel off face masks, brushing your teeth with it to whiten them. It's in shampoos and conditioners. I mean, it's everywhere. So I've done quite a bit of research on this, on the real science behind how it works, what it really does, and if it really works in beauty products the way that those companies are marketing them. Now, the short and sweet answer is, does it work that way? Not really. What this stuff does, the particles of activated charcoal are very jagged, and they have a lot, massive surface area. And so what that means is when they come into contact with other particles, say dirt for instance, they do kind of attach themselves to that. And once the activated charcoal is basically full of other stuff, then it's just there, and then you wash it away and it goes away. So in theory, yeah, that sounds kind of like what they're marketing this that it will do for you, right? But what they don't tell you is something that's actually kind of really important, and that is that, I mean, the activated charcoal isn't smart. It has no way of differentiating between particles, or molecules as it were, of dirt or good stuff like vitamins and minerals that you might want to stay in your hair or skin, or especially people are putting this stuff in smoothies, and that could be really, really bad for your GI tract. Let's just leave it at that. So my main issue with the activated charcoal in these, I think the shampoo is fine. The shampoo I actually quite like. The conditioner doesn't make sense to me. Because with the whole idea of the activated charcoal being to remove dirt and remove stuff that you don't want, you've already done that with the shampoo. So why bother putting it in your conditioner? The conditioner is supposed to re-add those nutrients and minerals and vitamins and stuff back into your hair. So why would you include the charcoal, which essentially is going to just remove more of that stuff? All right, so with all that being said, let's move on to the styling products next, and I want to start with the clay first. So this one here is designed to be a firm hold with a matte finish, as many clays are. So if we take a very brief look at the ingredients list first, you'll notice that it has Serra alba, which is beeswax, in the first spot. So that's important to note that this is not a water-based clay. And we've got glycerin, bentonite clay, we've got a couple other compounds in there, and then there is a bit of water in the formula, so it should be somewhat more water-soluble than, say, a fully oil or beeswax-based clay. We've also got kaolin clay in there, a bunch of other compounds, and then we've got some goodies for your hair and scalp like vitamin E, jojoba oil, and macadamia oil. So on paper, it sounds pretty good, but does it work that way? Well, let's take a look and find out. So first things first, scoop and break down. When you open up this jar, you're gonna see this kind of grayish toned product that should be pretty familiar looking to you if you've used any other hair clays. Scooping it out of the jar is pretty firm. You're gonna need some decent pressure to get this out of there. I would call this a kind of in the style of a traditional heavy clay. And that certainly translates into the breakdown. You are going to need to warm this sucker up a lot. And one thing that I've noticed is that it seems like no matter how crazy you go with emulsifying this, it doesn't completely break down and go clear. You will still see some kind of white waxiness or grittiness in your hands. So how does all of that actually translate into application and styling and endurance? Well, let's jump over to the demo footage. So here we are, starting out with clean, dry hair. I've got no other products in it. I've just blow dried it. And this is how I prefer to style with my products. I like going into dry hair. So what I can say about applying the first scoop here is that it is pretty smooth. There is little tug or pull. It's pretty comfortable to apply. And even though it does have that kind of grittiness in the hands, like it doesn't break down completely, thankfully I don't really see any clumping or anything. It does still apply fairly smoothly. However, one scoop is not nearly enough. I've got very light hold at this point, so I do have to go in with a second, basically full-size scoop here, and this is where things start to get pretty dodgy. Any additional scoops past the first one, I find the tug and pull just basically skyrockets, and this becomes very sticky feeling, and it just feels, frankly, quite uncomfortable to apply. I'm not sure how well it comes across on camera, but you'll notice at certain points that my fingers, or even like when I'm using a texture comb, which is this big wide tooth comb, it just gets stuck at the ends, and that just makes me have to pull it through, and it hurts, man. I mean, it's, you know, it feels like you're ripping some hairs out, and I do see a bunch of hairs on my hands and on my comb at the end. And this is where it gets even weirder. I mean, first of all, I don't think that this is a matte finish at this point. To me, it's more of a natural shine, which I'm fine with. I don't care that it's not totally matte, but it doesn't feel or behave like a clay should behave, in my opinion. So you can see here when I'm going through with like a texture comb or my fingers or whatever, there are these like weird bits and strands that are just kind of sticking up completely like unruly of the others. And it's just bizarre. Like that's not something that normally happens for me. And the strand separation is just weirdly high here. I mean, typically with clays, you get a really coarse texture, you know, really sticks the hairs together well. And here it's almost acting more like a wax. Like I've got just thinner strands of hair popping up everywhere, and it really takes quite a bit of finagling to get it to a point where it actually looks the way that I want. Now, once I've fiddled with it enough and I've got it into a shape that I think looks pretty decent, it feels like it's gonna be a firm hold. I mean, it feels pretty heavy in the hair. It feels like it shouldn't really be moving. But now, once again, things get a bit weird. So let's take a look at this. This is about 1 hour later, and as you can see, now the product has shifted into a much more matte finish. And this just struck me as a bit odd because it is a wax or oil-based clay, and you know, it does have some water in the formula, as I mentioned, but typically this kind of like that much of a shift in finish is usually something that happens with a water-based product. But for me, like the hold just evaporated with that natural shine. I don't know what happened with it. It no longer feels like a firm hold, and it's just, it feels really loose. So you can see there's a lot of movement to it. Like if you move your head around, it's gonna be moving around with you. So taking a look here, this is at the 4 hour mark, so we can see that the volume has deflated a bit. The hold has dropped out a little bit more. And now the pliability is okay. And at this point, I think the texture looks much more like a clay texture should, so that's a positive. But I find that, you know, when you're using your fingers or a comb or whatever to try to get it back into shape, it just feels very dry. It feels sticky. I've got really tangly feeling ends, so my fingers or my comb will just kind of get stuck in there, and it just feels uncomfortable. And once again, we can see it even more exaggerated here at the 6 hour mark, where basically the volume and the hold have dropped out even more, and so I can still kind of force it back into place, but then, you know, if 10 more minutes go by, it's gonna fall right back out again. So the clay for me, honestly, was pretty much just a massive disappointment, if I'm honest. I expected it to work really well for me because, you know, Jose has a thicker, kind of curlier hair type, fairly similar to mine. So I would have expected that this would be something that if it works really well for him, it would probably work really well for me too. And that was not at all the case. You know, so I don't know. In my opinion, it's just a bad formula. And I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but it just didn't work for me at all. So now let's move on to the shaping paste, and this one is supposed to be a medium hold with a matte finish, and this one, I'll say right off the bat, worked miles better for me than the clay did. Briefly taking a look at the ingredients on this one is water-based, so it should be a lot easier to wash out. And then we've got some copolymer, Sarah Alba beeswax, candelilla wax, and then a bunch of various compounds. We've got some paraffin wax, coconut oil, and other things in there. So taking a look inside the jar for this one, you're going to see this white, waxy, pasty type of substance. It feels typically like a matte paste should feel. Scooping it out is easier than the clay. It's not quite as firm, and it does have a creamier, smoother breakdown, although it does definitely have some tack to it in your hands as you emulsify it. So here we are again, starting out with clean, dry hair, and this applies smoothly as well for the first scoop. And what I find here is that more so than the clay, it just offers a better level of control. So it is certainly waxier in the hair, and what that translates to for me is just that my hair is more responsive to it, so it's easier to get my hair into a shape that I want. Even going in with the second scoop, it does increase the tug and pull a little bit, but not nearly as much as the clay. So when we get to the finished style here, we've got something that I'm happy with. It definitely feels like it's going to be a solid medium hold. I'm happy with the texture and the overall look. And I find this one to be a little bit more matte right away. It goes through much less of a shift than the clay. So here we are about 8 hours later at the end of the day, and you can see that it held up pretty well. There is, of course, some movement, so it's, it is a medium hold, so it will fall out here and there, but it definitely has a pretty decent pliability. It is fairly easy to just run your fingers or comb through it, get it back into shape, and it will hold it pretty well as long as you aren't doing anything like really labor intensive. So overall, I think the shaping paste was decent. It was certainly much better than the clay for me. Is it my favorite matte paste of all time? No. It's just mediocre, I guess. Like, it's a matte paste. It does, I guess, what it's supposed to do, but there was nothing spectacular about it that particularly, like, blew my socks off. Alright, guys, so overall thoughts on the Hudson and Main product lineup. I mean, in terms of the clay, it was basically terrible for me. It just didn't work at all. And, like I said, maybe that just comes down to a bad formula. I don't know, but at least for my hair type, in my experience, and I've been using all these products for about a week and a half straight, so I've been doing a lot of testing with these, and it just did not work. The paste, as I mentioned, was much better than the clay. I think it was just a pretty decent standard matte paste with a medium hold. The shampoo and conditioner worked pretty well. My hair did feel nice and clean. It did feel pretty nourished. But with that being said, I think that the activated charcoal thing is purely a marketing gimmick. I don't think it does anything. I mean, just do some research on the science of it. I really don't think that it has much benefit, if any at all, in the range of hair and grooming. One other thing that I just thought was odd in terms of their stylers, like, all three of them are matte finish products, which I don't know, I just find that strange. Like, if you're gonna come out with 3 different products that are supposed to be, designed for 3 different types of hairstyles, why would you make all of them the same finish? So, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. I don't really understand why you would have 3 different stylers that all have the same type of finish or type of end result, but whatever. So that wraps things up for today's review, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Big thank you again to John for having me here on the channel. If you'd like to see more content like this, hair product review or hairstyling tutorials or anything, please do pop over to my channel and hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all my upcoming stuff. I'm hoping to have a collaboration and have the Kavalier do a video on my channel soon as well, so keep an eye out for that. So with that, I'm out of here. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching, and we'll see you at the next one.